2006, that something is off course. Part of it is our spending is out of control. Republicans are supposed to control it, and they didn't. Republicans are supposed to believe in lower taxes, and we haven't necessarily come through on that at the federal level. I think we need something more than just simply a twist of the screwdriver and a tap of the hammer when it comes to our tax code. Personally, I think it's time to get rid of the IRS completely and abolish it. There are those who think, well, that's just not possible. I've heard the boo birds before. They were the same ones who didn't think this country could get to the moon in 10 years, didn't think we could create a war-ending weapon in 3, didn't think that we would somehow survive a civil war or come out of a Great Depression. But this country has the resolve and the resilience to do anything that it really wants to do. And it's high time that we decide that we want to do some things because we owe it to our children and future generations. I'm one of those kids who's baby boomer, product of what we often call the greatest generation. My parents were those who lived through the Great Depression and World War II. The one thing they wanted out of life was a better life for their kids than they had for themselves. And they were willing to do anything, make any sacrifice in order for their children not to have the hardships they did. And they knew hardship. My dad was one of those guys who never finished high school. In fact, no male upstream from me ever had finished high school, as long as we could trace back in the family tree. And my dad always said, son, don't look too far up in that family tree. There's stuff up there you don't need to see. So when I went out of high school and went on to college, I was the first male in my entire family lineage to ever do that. Because of his lack of education, he worked hard, 2 jobs. He was a firefighter, and on his days off, he was a mechanic, doing heavy lifting, rebuilding car generators when cars had them, getting his hands dirty every day. He wanted for me a better life than that, and I can understand why. Sometimes I say the only soap we had when I was a kid growing up was lava soap. For those of you who don't fully understand, that means I was in college before I found out it's not supposed to hurt when you take a shower. Today, people sometimes pay good money to have an exfoliation. Bar and Love will do it for you for about 50 cents. At the spa. My mother was the oldest of 7 children. She grew up in a house where they had dirt floors, outdoor toilets, anything but privilege. And she had to go to work early in life to help her siblings. Coming from their backgrounds, you can imagine that they just wanted to make sure that their kids lived better than that. And because of the sacrifices they made, some of which I never even knew about until after they were both deceased. My sister and I both have college degrees. Every one of our children do. And it's a different world because our parents lifted us up on their shoulders. And that's why we often call them the greatest generation, because they did great